Week 7. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Ragsdale Rumble Week 7. I am your host, Big Mike, and I am joined, as always, by our two competitors. Herb, how are you doing tonight, man?
Tired, but it's a beautiful night because I am hanging out with two of my favorite people in the entire world.
Heck yeah, I love to hear that. Same here.
Lame. Sorry.
Oh,
I'm hanging out with one of my favorite people in the entire world, and Rodg is here as well.
And yes, Rodg is here. We will get to you, Rodg. How are you doing tonight?
Unfortunately,
I'm doing fantastically splendid on this beautiful Wednesday evening. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. As I said, having fun spending time with two of my favorite people. It's always fun when we get to hang out. That's fine.
I must just count twice.
Well, after last week, let me use your house. You do count twice, so maybe it's three of my favorite people.
There you go.
Your setup, and Rodg.
There you go.
So definitely, thanks for that. I know I've told you, off air, but I actually want to make it public. But we do have a big week of games, big week of college football, a lot of ranked matchups, a lot of really good matchups. So we will kick right into gear and get right into the games. But you can't go through without going over last week first. Big week for Herb. Herb makes history. The first time you've ever had an anti-Rodg and an anti-Herb pick, both by the same person. Both of them win, giving Herb a 2-game win last week, which brings our total back to a 1-game show. Again, we said it last week. There's a ton of football left to play, a lot of stuff left to go. Anybody's game still. Back to a 1-point lead for Rodg. The comeback is real. And we got like I said, huge games this week. We've got 9 total. So again, after this week, who knows what happens? Let's get into the first one.
I'll probably
it's really
I'm sorry.
It's really the only.
Rodg is feeling himself tonight, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, you had one bad week. It's okay. It happens. Michael Jordan had off nights. I know we never talk about him, but Michael Jordan had off nights.
Yeah, LeBron has a lot of off nights, like a lot.
Hey,
like a whole.
Okay. All right, Vandy, Kentucky. All right, Mike, what were you saying?
All right, so this is actually the only game that we have on there that features 2 unranked teams. But obviously, Vandy coming off the big win of number 1 last week. Kentucky has played well. Had to go with them. It is a very large line of Kentucky up by 13.5. I don't know if that's just because they're at home. But we will start with this game since it is early and 2 unranked teams. Herb, with the win last week, you're up first this week. Who do you have and why?
This is a weird one because the line is so inflated. We all kind of know what you're getting with Kentucky. Great defense, a super conservative offense, not going to take many chances. I honestly can't remember any games that Vandy has played all year. So I don't know what their history is coming into this game. But I think Kentucky at home, tough. They did travel to Ole Miss and win that. Had a chance against Georgia. I think I'm gonna take Kentucky and buy it, but there's just no way I would ever think 13.5. If you had told me 3.5, I'd have been like, okay, that seems about right for home field. 13.5 is crazy, but I'm still gonna take Kentucky. Since I assume Vandy's been on a bye for 5 weeks, and since this is being their first game of the entire year, they're probably not ready for this. Kentucky at home to win.
All right, Rodg, what do you think?
Cover.
I'm obviously I agree. Well, not obviously, but surprisingly, I agree 100% with Herb. This is just a really, really weird game. Both teams have really, really good defenses. I feel like Vandy's offense is slightly better than Kentucky's, but Kentucky being at home, and I'm sure they watched the tape and the film of whoever Vandy played last week to kind of get them even more prepared for this coming Saturday. I feel like Kentucky's defense is going to give them a slight edge, and they're going to be able to give Vandy a little more stops or prevent them from scoring. I'm sorry. So with that being said, I'm going to go with Kentucky at home, but they're not going to cover. It's not going to be a two touchdown win. It's going to be pretty close.
All right, there you have it. Kentucky all around, but closer than the experts think, at least the other experts, not the experts we have on this show. Moving on to the next game, you have number 12 Pitt hosting Cal. Cal moving all the way across the country, which I'm guessing is probably why Pitt is favored -3. It is a small line considering it's number 12 against unranked. Rodg, you're up first. Who do you have and why?
Good game here. You got Pitt's offense is averaging about 45 points a game, and then on the other hand, you've got Cal's defense, who actually leads the nation in interceptions, which is pretty interesting. With that being said, I think with Pitt being at home, I think that they're. I just don't think Cal's going to be able to go toe to toe with them when it comes to just explosive plays. Not to mention the fact that Pitt has one of our former cornerbacks in Eli Holston, who's having a really, really good season. I'm going to go ahead and take Pitt to win this game and cover.
All right. Herb?
Yeah. Cal, great defense. Offense just doesn't seem to be able to get out of its own way. Kind of disappointed them dropping that Florida State game. And you got to think at some point along here, Cal is really regretting, I guess, being in the ACC, because all this travel for all these games has to take a toll on you at some point. But love Eli Holstein, the way he's been playing this year. Pitt, great offense. I agree with you. I'm surprised the line's only -3, especially Pitt being at home. But I'm still buying into it. I'm taking Pitt at home to win.
I'm surprised Cal dropped the Florida State and Miami game.
Yeah. Miami game, that was, at least it was at home, but you can't blow that lead in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
No matter what happens. So, especially in a big game like that. And maybe it's just faded from Miami this year. I guess they're just going to squeak through every game, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and they've had a couple of calls go their way, which, obviously, you talk about championship teams, that has to happen every year. We may bag on referees and stuff like that, but some of those calls have to go your way at some point in the year.
Yep. Agreed.
Next up, number 4, Penn State going the other direction, all the way over to USC. Penn State still favored by 4.5 going across the country. I think Herb, you're up first on this one. Who do you have in line?
Interestingly enough, on the show, somehow while discussing the Oregon versus Ohio State game, a lot of Penn State hate came into it. James Franklin catching some strays. USC, what was it? Blew an opportunity. What was that, like last week? Or no, I guess against Michigan a couple weeks ago.
Michigan, yeah.
Penn State, I'm just never, ever impressed with. USC, I feel like this is a chance to – the defense has been better this year. I don't think Penn State is explosive enough. I feel like this is a chance to get a big upset win for USC at home. And looking at the schedule for Penn State, I was always thinking, oh, they can get by this one. They can get by this one. I think this is one of those games they dropped that maybe they shouldn't. I'm taking USC at home to win.
All right, Rodg. Oh, there's the dance.
If that's what you want to call it.
Anti-Herb pick. Well, actually, this is an anti-Herb pick, but I actually have some good reasoning. I don't know if it's gonna come to fruition. We'll see Saturday.
For the first time ever.
I know. Okay, very funny. All right. So I think Drew Aller is just going to be the more efficient quarterback, and he's just going to play. He's going to play a little safer. He's not going to throw those interceptions that I think Miller Moss might have or might throw during the game. This is obviously going to be Penn State's toughest game to play, as far as I know. And I do see Penn State losing another game down the stretch, but I think Penn State takes the road victory here.
All right, there we go with the first anti-brother pick of the week. Will we see more? We'll find out. Moving along, you've got BYU, number 14, hosting Arizona, a game where somebody doesn't have to cross all the way across the country, so that's good. BYU still favored by 4 at home. Roger, up first. Who do you have?
All right, I'm going to make this one simple because I really couldn't find too many more facts about this game. Both of these teams played Kansas State. Arizona lost 31-7. BYU beat Kansas State 38-9. BYU's at home. I'm taking BYU.
All right. The expert analysis from Rodg there. Herb, do you agree with that analysis? Do you have a different opinion?
I agree 1,000% with the smartest thing Rodg has ever said.
It's factual.
Yes. BYU, I think, wins this game at home. I'm surprised the line is not a little bit bigger, but I really think they've got the Big 12 championship sights in their eyes, and I'm taking BYU to win this one big. I do love the correlation, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they cover mine. I think 4 is probably too small.
Yeah.
Okay. No problem. There we go. Another agreement, all on BYU. Up next, we've got Iowa State going into West Virginia. Iowa State favored by 3, even though they travel into West Virginia. Herb, you're up first. Who do you have?
I hate this game because West Virginia is just like one of those teams that I don't think I ever get right. It's probably another one of those where whatever Rodg picked, I wouldn't pick. But Iowa State's another one. I just can't trust them all the time. I can't trust their offense all the time. I like West Virginia playing at home. I feel like they're a scrappy team if you get them at home. So, plus nobody wants to go to West Virginia. So, like, the fans don't travel. No, there's probably nothing there but the stadium. And really hope no West Virginia fans are watching this. I'm taking West Virginia at home.
Well, I guess if we get blasted on the Pat McAfee show tomorrow, we know why.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I picked.
As long as they like and subscribe, they can hate us all they want, though.
Oh yeah, they can say whatever. I don't care. I picked against West Virginia last week when they destroyed Oklahoma State. I really thought Oklahoma State was going to win that game. I am not going to make that same mistake this week. I'm taking West Virginia at home.
Because Herb did it. Oh, okay, cool.
Did you really pick against them, or was that the anti Herb pick that against the anti Herb pick from Herb?
All I know is I picked Oklahoma State to beat West Virginia, and boy was I wrong.
All right, good enough reasoning as any. Moving right along, we have the Big Mike special of the week. Colorado comes into, or actually hosts, number 18 Kansas State. Kansas State favored by 4.5 in the late game. A little Big 12 after dark, starting at 9:15.
Lord,
Roger,
I'm staying up for this one.
Listen,
good.
Man,
that way, when I text you at 1 o'clock, you'll still be up to answer.
Yes, yes. Well, so the South Carolina game is early, and we're going to it. So I won't drink as much water as I did for this game as I did for the Vanderbilt game. So I'll be fine to stay up late for this one. When I drink a lot of water and I'm really hydrated, I can't stay up for the late games.
There you go. All right. Raj, do you have a pick on the game?
Sorry, I was going to start talking, but Herbie interrupted me.
I just figured it was a more interesting one. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Raj. Go ahead.
All right.
Colorado's offense has really, really been trending up the past few weeks. Really, really been looking good. I thought they would have dropped 1 or 2 more games than they already have. They're looking good, playing good. I'm going to take Colorado at home. I understand Kansas State. You got one of the more better dual threat quarterbacks out there, with what's his name, Avery Johnson. Excuse me.
Did he used to coach Alabama?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to take Colorado and prime at home. I think this game does come to a shootout somewhere around the fourth quarter, and I'm going to ride with Shedeur Sanders making a big play late in the game. I got Colorado.
Herb, what are your thoughts?
Psych. I'm taking Colorado at home. I like you said, I think Sanders makes some big plays. I think Travis Hunter continues his Heisman push. I'm done doubting Colorado. I don't know how my record has a positive right now because there's like 3 or 4 teams that I pick wrong every single week. Colorado in that category. So maybe I'm jinxing them, but I'm taking Colorado home, man. I think they make a push. Maybe not for the Big 12 title, but at least for a bowl game. But I mean, the Big 12 title still like well within their grasp too as well, right?
Oh yeah,
only 4-1. So
they're 4-1. Yeah,
I mean, yep, and it was 2-0 in the conference. So man, I think this is another big game for them, man. I think they make a push here.
Yep.
All right. So how does it feel to finally be on my side of the fence on Colorado?
We'll see how it is for now.
Yeah. But if we get to your side of the fence and all the grass is dead, then we're
coming back.
Well, I mean, we are on the side of buffaloes and they do eat grass, so it is a little dead. So, but it does feel good not to be alone over here on this side, on the prime side of the fence. But we will see what happens on Saturday. Moving on, it is the Red River Shootout. Oklahoma technically at home, even though it is a neutral site, halfway between the two. Number 1, Texas. Number 18, Oklahoma, with a big line, 14.5. Herb, you're up first. Who do you have on?
I have no analysis for this game. I told our friend Brian Roberts that whatever he picked, I would go with. And somebody said, well, he's an Oklahoma fan. Yeah, but he picked Tennessee to beat them. So I know he'll be honest with me on this one. So he got the first pick. I text him. He said, OU's going to win. I'm taking Oklahoma.
All right. OU. Raj, do you agree?
Herb knows what I say every year about Texas. They always drop 1 or 2 games that they should not be dropping. The reason Herb's chuckling right now is because he knows I'm leaning towards Oklahoma. I really think Hawkins, their dual threat quarterback, is really going to have a really, really big game Saturday. Excuse me. I understand Quinn Ewers is coming back. That OU defense is going to be all over him. They're going to be looking to take him out. I'm really going to ride with OU in this one. They've won 5 of the last 6 Red River rivalries, and I think they make it.
That is crazy.
It's very crazy. They
Yeah.
won last year, but then I think it was 2 years ago when Texas won like 49-0.
Oh
Remember
yeah,
that
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. But I think OU wins. I got to go with OU.
That is
All
weird.
right.
It's weird that we
None
both
of us
agree,
are-
and it's such short analysis. But it's like it is kind of like the Iron Bowl. You do throw out
It
the
is.
records, and
Minus the game 2 years ago. If you look at the scores from the past like 6 or 7 Red River rivalries, they're pretty close. These games are always pretty close. And again, 2 years ago, 2022 was like 49-0, but that was just an exception. So it's going to be a close game, but I think OU's defense kind of gives them somewhat of an edge in this game.
Yeah, and you get games like that in rivalries every now and then where it's a blowout, kind of one-off games.
Yeah,
because we've had them, kind of both ways, unfortunately, in the history of the Iron Bowl as well.
Oh yeah.
But definitely, I was surprised that you guys agreed on this one. I figured at least it would be an anti-pick just because of the uncertain nature of the game being like the Iron Bowl. So, but we do have an agreement.
Yep.
Yeah, OU was my first choice when you even presented this game to us, and I always try to make it a habit to take my first choice. So I'm just gonna lean toward OU and see what happens.
There you go.
There we go. A couple more games left. This isn't the only big game in the SEC. You also have number 9 Ole Miss traveling into Death Valley. Number 13 LSU. Ole Miss surprisingly a favorite at a nighttime game in Death Valley. Rodg, you're up first. Do you have a why?
This is so weird. On my paper for my note, I put Ole Miss has the better ranking offense and defense, which they probably do statistically speaking.
Right.
But we saw what happened to Ole Miss was it 2 weeks ago when they played Kentucky, and they lost that game. Gosh, this is tough.
The pick is being made live.
I know.
It's like he's actually deciding it.
I'm going to stick with Ole Miss.
We should have the draft clock, and if it goes to 0, her take the pick from you.
Even though this game is a night game in Death Valley, I'm going to stick with Ole Miss to win the game. That was my first pick. Now I'm thinking LSU, but Ole Miss was my first choice. I'm going to stick with Ole Miss.
And I love how the last game, your whole reasoning to stay with OU is because of your first pick, and you want to stay with your first pick. This game, Ole Miss was your first pick, and yet you fought so hard against it. Ended up going with it, but still finally decided. But just that wavering just tells you how close this game is. Herb, do you agree?
Shoot. I knew I shouldn't have done this.
I am going with LSU. But to be fair, this is another one of those games where I was like, I hope Rodg goes first because I'm just going to take the opposite side so we have a little – because it's – the reason why he's kind of like trying to figure it out, this is one of those, you don't know what Ole Miss you're getting. They got popped in the mouth. LSU will not have the same kind of defense as Kentucky, but they will have a better offense. And was it last year when they had the crazy shootout? You'd love to see something
it was like
that
49-55 or something like that.
Yeah, so it was crazy. And LSU's kind of slid under the radar. They lost that first game and then would have won the rest of it. Nobody's honestly paying attention to them. But they win this game, and they're still right in the thick of it for the SEC title race. So, and Ole Miss, I mean, I know you're going to come in desperate, lose this game, and you're pretty much out of the SEC championship. But, man, night game, LSU, Ole Miss not looking great against any kind of decent competition. I got to take LSU at home.
If Ole Miss loses this game, they still play Georgia, correct?
They still play Georgia.
Yeah, so if Ole Miss loses this one, they're probably out of the playoff.
Yeah. And Lane Kiffin really has to – if they lose this one and they lose Georgia – and you come in with your best team and a top 10 ranking to start and your best transfer class, and you miss Alabama and you only have Georgia, and you don't make the playoff, like that's going to be a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, that may force him to
see him in Florida soon.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That may force his hand to go with the rumors from him going to Florida that I've heard.
Yeah. It would mean they'd plateaued, like there's nowhere else to go there. So,
yeah. All right. The only one left, the biggest game of the week. You guys talked about it on Tuesday. Lady Alpha asked for it a couple weeks ago, one of our biggest fans. Thank you, Lady Alpha. It is the Ohio State Buckeyes going into Oregon, number 2 versus number 3. Ohio State favored by 3 on the road. Rodg, I think you're up first on this one. Herb, you're up first. Do you have a why?
For the season, I picked Oregon in this game. I picked them to win. I've been underwhelmed by Dylan Gabriel, underwhelmed by his offensive line. I think the defense is still tough, and I think they'll give Ohio State maybe some shots early, but I feel like their offense for Ohio State, too many playmakers. I mean, they've just loaded up. Jeremiah Smith is he's probably like, I don't know if him and Ryan Williams are going to be friends or enemies because every week he does something, Ryan Williams is doing something else, and they're just like, depending on what part of the country, and one of those guys is trying to steal the headlines. But I said it when Ryan Williams had his game against Georgia. I was like, he's what Jeremiah Smith is waiting for the Oregon game. Not that he's waiting. He's been spectacular every week, but his like real, hey, this is a good game against good competition will be here. I think they just got too much to fight against. Henderson and Judkins have been great in the backfield as well for Ohio State. And if you're telling me like game of the line, which one of these offenses do I think is going to produce? I think Ohio State has a better chance of scoring on Oregon than Oregon on Ohio State. And like I said, Dylan Gabriel's just not been what I thought he was going to be at Oregon. So I am going with Ohio State.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Rodg, you're up. Who do you have?
Kudos to Herb. In all seriousness, kudos to Herb with the expert analysis. He pretty much took the words out of my mouth. I think Ohio State's better on both sides of the ball. Obviously, Herb mentioned Jeremiah Smith in the receiving core. They got the running back room. Will Howard still isn't like one of the better QBs in the nation. I was never high on him. Still haven't been high on him all season. But I think Ohio State's going to come with more big play talent and more big play drives in this game. On the other hand, you have Dylan Gabriel. Obviously, Oregon's undefeated, but it seems like Oregon usually starts off with a slow start in almost each game, and they just kind of end up squeaking them out. And I think Ohio State's just going to pounce on that. I got Ohio State winning I have Ohio State winning by 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Decent lead there. All right. So that is all the games we have. We have a couple of anti-brother picks. So it is anybody's game. Will we see a tie game? Will Rodg lead grow? We'll have to wait and see till next week on our recap. But we do have one more game to go over, even though it's not a part of our picks. It is South Carolina traveling into Tuscaloosa to Alabama. Alabama coming off of the bye week after Georgia, so that's always good to get some rest because obviously we didn't play last week. Right. Rodg, you're up first. What do you think the score will be?
I think this is going to be a very, very huge and important game for Alabama. It's going to show exactly how strong we still are coming off of what happened the previous week. We need to look extremely hungry and extremely energetic right from the kickoff, whether we receive the ball, whether we kick the ball off, whatever the case may be. We need to look angry, basically. We need to look extremely angry about what happened the previous week. And I need Alabama. This can't be one of those games where we win like 30-23. This needs to be like a nice little 21, 22-point victory. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm definitely going with Alabama. I'm going to say 45-17. I would not be surprised if we didn't score 45 points, but I'm just going with the hopes that our offense has a big spark behind it and the defense gets a few turnovers here and there. So I'm going to go 45-17 Alabama.
Yeah. This is one of those games where like you need a score on our first offensive possession and a stop on our first defensive possession. If you don't get either one of those things, like there's going to be a lot of angst in the stadium. So I'm going to say they've had, there's even been talk that the attitude with the coaches is different this week. And I think we're taking it more seriously. So I'm going to go, 42-13, something in that realm. Mobile quarterback for South Carolina. They scramble around, get you a couple yards, but I think we bend, don't break. And I think the offense comes back alive and tries to show everybody what we're made of. So that's what I'm going with.
All right, there you have it. An analysis of all the big games on Saturday. Again, another huge weekend of college football. A lot of huge games, none bigger than the one we just talked about, Alabama and South Carolina. Hopefully everybody enjoys it. Hope Herb has a great time at the game. But hope everybody has a great day.
Yep.
Enjoy some football, everybody.
Roll Tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.